can, that it all, got it. Let's see
Oh,
here.
wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then it goes into the archive and we don't have to worry about anything. And let me just mute that and let me let some people in. See, oh my gosh, what did I do? Okay, do you guys not see my presentation there?
No, it says you have started a screen share, but I don't see anything. I just see all of us kind of jump in.
Maybe this is it.
Hi, Fasti.
Hello.
Are you out of California as well?
Arizona.
Arizona. Okay. South Florida here.
So give me a second while I deal with my technical issues here. I got a new Apple computer. I'm not 100% Apple yet. So let's see.
That's
here.
funny. I switched from Apple to Microsoft.
Oh, really? Okay, so give me a second here. I'm gonna have to. I don't know how to put my presentation back on unless someone that's Apple can walk me through. I'm trying to share my page and let's see here if this works. There we go. Fantastic. All right, do you guys see my my background there?
I do.
Awesome.
We see your background that's on you, and we see the presentation.
Awesome. Very, very good. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone that's joined. Let's get this started. So let me just make sure we're good here. Oh, what happened there? Okay. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Annabelle Pacheco, and just a little bit of information about myself. I am an investor and a real estate broker. I've been in business for 24 years. And my goal for this platform is really to share with each one of you in details, the steps that I took to purchase my first multifamily deal in hopes that you guys will also do the same. You guys might want to mute yourselves. Let me just.
You said unmute or mute?
Mute someone. Yeah, someone there. Anyway, I want you all to know that I'm not selling anything. I'm not offering anything. I am not a financial advisor. I am just sharing with you guys my story in hopes that you guys can use this platform to share information with each other and that we really learn from each other. You never know where these relationships can go. And that's really the purpose of this weekly call. I started my career in the mortgage industry in the mid 90s and have also purchased over 100 properties throughout my career. I did a lot of rehab, flips. We managed smaller units and we've developed from ground up, and that was really hard. We've done a lot of and lot splits as well, bought large properties and split the lots for single family residents to be built on that. So we did that for quite some time. And in 2001, I deviated a bit from real estate. I decided to go into the restaurant industry and built from ground up, we built a 150 capacity restaurant. We had staff of about 15 people, which included managers, chefs, servers. So we were more like we didn't actually run or work in the restaurant. We were just the business. We had put the money in and, we hired the people to run the restaurant. It did very well. We did that for about 8 years and then sold the restaurant. And I decided to just go back to my real estate. I think once you've lived the life of a restaurant owner, and you have done real estate for a living, there's just like I'll never go back to owning a restaurant unless, you know, you have a passion and you want to cook and you want to serve and you want to do all of that. But it wasn't for me. It was definitely just a business move. And we got stuck. We were supposed to have partners. It didn't work out. And we had no choice but to try to get all our money back. And thank goodness we did. So we sold the restaurant. I decided to just focus 100% on my business, residential and commercial real estate. And back in 2015, I purchased my first multifamily deal, which was 34 doors in Texas. And honestly, it's done amazing for me. And one of the reasons why we invested at that time is we were really looking for a way to create cash flow and generational wealth. And I think that, you know, many of you on this call know that multifamily or just income property can create cash flow for us and that generational wealth that we can pass down to our kids. So, you know, why we were really looking for how can we make our money work for us? And multifamily was definitely our thing. I was mentored by someone that had already purchased property out in Texas. So it just made it a lot easier for me to go out to Texas. They had kind of done the work for me, right? And I just followed. And, but here are four top reasons why it was very appealing for us. Number one was cash flow. We were looking for that monthly cash flow. And in a nutshell, your cash flow really is your rental income minus all your expenses. Number two, like what an amazing opportunity to have your loan be paid down by your tenants. And that's what really truly happens every single month. And so it's an incredible opportunity if you're able to get yourselves involved in multifamily. Number three was appreciation, right? Properties appreciate over the long run. And I'll be very honest with you guys, when I went into Texas and I'm in California, properties in California appreciate like crazy. Texas back in 2015 was already kind of, I mean, like there was some movement, but it really wasn't like it was in California. And we looked at it as we were really looking for cash flow. That's why I have cash flow as number one. But we thought, okay, you know what? I think like over the long run, the property values will eventually go up. I mean, it can't go down. So our property's definitely done incredible. And I'll show you guys on the next slide. And then number four was tax benefits, right? I'm sure, and there's probably more tax benefits than these that I've listed, but these are the ones that really were appealing to us. Depreciation, which was, you're allowed to expense a portion of the physical structure each year. And the 1031 exchange, which allows you to defer the capital gain taxes, no limit. You can do this as many times as you want, as long as you find, the right investment to 1031 exchange into. So a little example of the property that I purchased. So before I go on, are there any questions? Because I know I'm throwing out a lot of stuff. Any questions, or are you guys all good so far? Okay. So the property that I purchased is what we call a value add multifamily. And I wrote down, for those that you may not know, that multifamily, and if you read this here, this is a strategy that involves buying the worst property in the best neighborhood and then increasing the net operating income and the value of the property through the renovation. Okay. So pretty much we came in and we purchased this property that needed a lot of work. And we had studied the market. We knew the surrounding areas. We knew what the rents were going for. We looked at the apartments. You go in, when you're going to buy apartments, you're going to go look at other apartments, and you pretend you're a tenant and you walk in and you go see those apartments and you want to look at the condition and you want to look at the rents, right? And then you take all this information, you bring it back and you study it, and then you now know what you can do to your property. And so we did that. We studied it. We purchased this property for $850,000. I have to tell you guys that this was like, honestly, it was just a blessing because we were ready to apply for a traditional loan to purchase this property. And I knew that it was going to take extra steps. I mean, it's not easy. They require a lot of documentation and a lot of paperwork. But when I called the agent on this property, he happened to be the owner of the property. So it was the owner agent, and I was the buyer broker or buyer real estate broker as well. So we ended up we just kind of represented each other, right? Like I represented myself, he represented himself. And in conversation, I asked if he'd be willing to carry a note for 2 years. And after we did all the numbers, I mean, it was like a no-brainer for him because he was losing money on this property. And he was going to be making more money for lending us the money for 2 years than he was with that property. So it made financial sense for him. It made things much easier for us. And so we moved forward. We did you do your inspections and you do your due diligence. But just, it was wonderful because all we really had to put down was 350. He carried a note for 500,000, and it allowed us 2 years to remodel and update the units and increase the rents. And now this property, you can go to any bank because the bank sees that it's producing, the bank sees its condition. It was much easier for us to get a loan. So we were able to refinance at that time. And when we refinanced by year 2, mind you, we bought the property for $850,000. When we refinanced, it doubled. It was 1.6 at that point. So we were able to get a loan for $1 million. We pretty much got back our 350 plus whatever money we put into it for repairs. We got it all back. And today our money, there's zero of our money invested in this property. And the property value is somewhere around the 2.7 and a little bit more $1 million. And this was an investment that I did about 6 years ago. So it really, really turned out to be an excellent property. And I had no idea that the value was going to quadruple. I knew that it would go up, but it was Texas, it was very different than California, and it's quadrupled in value. So any questions so far? We're all good. Perfect. I'll show you guys a little picture of the property. So there's 2 buildings. We have a building. This building you're looking at is 24 units, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. And then we have 10 units. They're all 2 bedrooms, 1.5 bath, townhouse style. And I'm gonna stop sharing. Give me a second. All right, admit. Let me make sure I have everyone in. All right. So, any questions? We all good? Yes? Okay, very good. So today I have a special guest, and I am extremely honored that she agreed to join my weekly call. Her name is Kristine Flook. She is from Florida area. She works the commercial real estate out there, and I think her niche is sourcing off-market properties. And she's with Urbanize Properties. This is a boutique brokerage firm specializing in engaging with institutional investors and high net worth individuals for the purpose of building wealth through sales and acquisitions. Urbanize capitalizes on the ability to capture very desirable and demand, this is the key, off-market assets in South Florida and additional emerging markets within the urban core neighborhoods. This specialty service gives her investors the first look, and it sets them apart from the competition, allowing investors the ability to maximize the investment return upon their exit. So welcome, Ms. Kristine. Thank you so much, and the floor is yours.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. Excuse me. It's an honor and a privilege to hang out with you guys this afternoon. So I am over here in Miami. I've been in real estate since 2004. I started out in residential. That's where you get your war wounds and get to learn how to get smacked around a little bit between buyers and sellers and dealing with open houses and, you know, why isn't the kitchen white? It's blue kind of responses, and how I started out in real estate. I just kind of fast forward in 2006, I started working with a brokerage company at that time that was doing more smaller multifamily, more commercial assets, office buildings, larger multifamily land. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I think I can grasp this. So I started prospecting owners for smaller properties, say 6 to 20 units. And as I'm on the phone, I'm just concentrating on, well, I had a script that I was reading, so I was concentrating on the script. I wasn't even hardly listening to how they were responding, even though I should have, right? I was just so focused on, oh my gosh, what's my next line? What's my next line? So just kind of, that's the, I guess the old school way, or the way that has been a big success for Urbanize Properties. So Urbanize Properties has been around since 2015. But like I said, I've been doing commercial real estate since 2006, was I was working for other brokerages, and just kind of got tired of, hey, we're talking, but we're not walking. So wait, why am I working for people who are talking? I want the walk. So that's how Urbanize Properties came about. Janet Crusette is the broker. She's my business partner since 2004. So I guess what you were mentioning is the off-market properties. And it's somewhat a simple kind of action, but it's not in a way. Example, pick up the phone, look up the property owner, look up the LLC, find out where you can locate their telephone number, talk to them, hopefully create some dialogue on the phone with them, handle objections, and keep them on the phone as long as you can to hopefully get somewhere, which is obviously touring the property, receiving the income and expenses, the rent roll, hopefully it's the truth. And then, you know, setting up a time where you meet up with the owner and hopefully work out a purchase and sale agreement, price and terms agreeable to parties, and then hopefully end up at the closing table, go to the bank, cash your check, put it in. I don't know if there's anything I could answer specifically for you, but I'm just letting you know that you can, and I'm happy to answer whatever I can. The recent transaction that I did, which was 384 units in Daytona Beach, my real estate partner, Janet, she sourced the operator, who was an off-market property. At the time, October 2020, maybe September, we started making phone calls, because I've been working on intentionally, and that's how I met Annabelle, is just reaching out to other investors and just kind of landing in their world through LinkedIn or social media, Facebook, and connecting with them and finding out, hey, if there's something to connect, and hopefully maybe the future, if not now. And with this particular operator, with different investors, they have different appetites. So they were looking for things in different areas of Florida. We sourced the operator, and at the time, there was a gentleman that was our contact person for the group. Well, he was making his way out of the company and was moving on to another company. We kept following up because he had mentioned there was more than one asset that we might be able to have access to. And we were like, wow, this is exciting, because we're just calling for one. And next thing you know, he's got properties in all these different states, and we have people in all different states. Wow, we just hit the jackpot. Now the guy's not returning my phone calls. He's not returning my emails. I'm hitting him up literally probably every 3 days. That's the length of rope that I'm giving him. I actually want it to be every probably 10 hours, because I was so excited that I really had this off-market operator that I could reach out to. And it's a substantial group. Being a boutique firm, sometimes these larger assets might not necessarily take you as like the bigger firms, such as JLL, Cushman Wakefield, Marcus and Millichap. I call them Marcus and Millichap. And so, you know, you want to show up serious. So the gentleman's on his way out. He eventually connects us with a young lady. And now we've got another lifeline that we're going to exercise and see what we can do, because now we've got all this exciting product and these exciting investors that we can help source acquisitions. Come to find out, fast forward, maybe we're into October 2020. She's somebody that I've met and somebody that I've already know of here in South Florida. So that was even more exciting. So now I'm talking to somebody that actually knows me and I know them. So now they can sense that we are somebody who's real and that we're not just somebody who's calling up with, you know, blowing smoke. So it was a recapitalization opportunity. So it wasn't that the owner wanted to sell the property. It was the equity partner wanted to close their fund and they were looking for a new equity partner. So we were like, okay, it's a different way to look at it, but I'm pretty sure we have people for that too. So I've had a relationship with the group that I brought in for the recapitalization slot, if you would. And I've been talking with him for about 2 years. I had been sourcing land acquisitions and other multifamily properties for this gentleman. He was looking for self-storage sites. I had actually provided an off-market site for him in the Fort Lauderdale market. Didn't work out. Nonetheless, of course, I'm keeping him on my radar. I started working on another property with him. It was around 65 million in the Sun Belt states. The owner was an asset that had many states that they were owning and they were looking to dispose of it. Nonetheless, that didn't work out. So I'm like, oh my gosh, coming up for another one. I guess strike three, you're out, but
Yeah.
third one worked.
Okay.
So am I just rambling or it's okay?
No, that's good. That's good.
Excellent, excellent. So got on a phone call with the equity partner and the operator, managed to set that up, and it was instant synergy. What happened was this particular equity partner had met the operator like 7 years ago and saw him on the stage in New York speaking at an event.
Oh, wow.
And he was just really moved by this gentleman. And here I am connecting on a call for him to be able to work with this gentleman. So it was just fantastic, actually. There were 2 properties on the table. One of them was a little bit more of a time frame that required like 120 days, and another one that didn't have a time stamp to it. So we wind up working on the one that didn't have a time stamp. Fast forward to July 2021, closed the $42 million acquisition in Daytona. And it's just fantastic that I was able to source the off-market operator, source the off-market deal, if you would. And the gentleman that I brought into it had no idea about it anyway. So I'm proud that I was able to get that done. I know they were proud to be able to get it done. And so now there's some other opportunities with this operator that we're working on. So I've got many other stories about off-market properties. So if you're wanting to go that route, obviously, I mean, that's where less hands in the jars are. You don't have to run into the big operators, because I have one right now that I'm talking to. This is a gentleman. He's out of the west coast of Florida, and I'm helping him find some land because they like to build garden style apartments, 250 to 300 units. So obviously when you buy land, you buy it on a per buildable unit, not just on an existing, like your asset in Dallas, you're at whatever price per unit. So you have to do it on a price per buildable unit. And then you've got it, your construction costs and everything that go into that. Well, he has something that's off market in an area in Florida. It's going to be around $120 million price tag. And that's exciting. But now I've got to go through the gatekeeper, which is, a bigger real estate firm, commercial real estate. So I spoke to him this week, and there's a process that we have to go through. And one of the things that these bigger groups go for is, they get your buyer's information. I don't want to share my buyer's information. We have a process. Well, I have a process, and I don't want to give you my buyer's information. So now we're kind of stuck right now, but I'm trying to figure out how I can hopefully get past the gatekeeper. A lot of times when they are off market, you have to get paid by the buyer. So in this case, being a real estate brokerage, I'm also an investor myself, but as a brokerage firm, sometimes sellers don't want to share, and sometimes buyers have to pay the fee. And sometimes sometimes the buyers don't mind paying the fee because you're bringing them an off-market opportunity. So that means they don't have a lot of eyes looking at it. So it gives them, the opportunity to be able to be the only one looking at the asset.
So I have a quick question for you. So if, let's say, there's quite a few people here on the call. If someone is looking to try picking up the phones on their own, right? Obviously, they have to have the source of where do they get the names and numbers, right? What's the script, or what do you say? What can you, again, you don't have to give away all your secrets, but
yeah, no problem.
Just share with everyone, probably maybe like the basic steps of how do you even connect with that off-market owner?
So when I first started out doing the phones, if you would, and getting my skill set on, I was calling expired listings, and people might be on here, they're not real estate agents, but yeah. So that was a great source, because one of the decisions that you have to overcome when you're talking with it is that they decided to hire a real estate agent. So that was great. Now you just got to work on the other things, price and motivation.
Right.
So how I do it is here in the state of Florida, we have, it's called sunbiz.org. And that's where you can look up a lot of company names, LLCs, 123 Main Street. You look it up, it's Don Johnson. I'm just throwing that out there. How did I know to choose that name? So it's just an example. And so I look up Don Johnson, and hopefully there's a telephone number in the LLC. A lot of times these people will fill out their information, and it requires them to put either an email address or a telephone number. So if it'll be usually their office number, or there'll be a secretary's email. So you've got to maneuver yourself through the gatekeeper.
Got it.
And, just basically ask them, is this Don Johnson? Yes, it is. Great. I was calling about 123 Main Street, and I wanted to know if you were actively looking to sell the property, or if you're just looking to lease it. Oh, well, where did you skip my number? I get that a lot of time. Oh, well, I rode by the building. I saw the for rent sign. Or, a lot of times I'll just say my assistant was able to pull up the telephone numbers. Sometimes they get a little weird about it, but hopefully you can just maneuver yourself.
Well, isn't that public record?
Yeah, it can be, but sometimes people get upset that you call them or whatever, and you just try to keep moving through the conversation. Sometimes won't even answer the question because I just want to keep the dialogue moving. Yeah. So you just ignore it, and then if they bring you back to it, then you try to answer it and handle it. I get people to hang up on me all the time. I get rude people, but the thing is that contacting the owners, you never know where their motivation is going to be. So whether another source that I was mentioning is riding by the area that you like and looking up the for rent signs. Sometimes there might be somebody out there and, you know, you let them know, hey, I like this property. I'm looking for a place to rent. Do you know how to get in touch with the owner in case there's not a for rent sign outside? That's another great way of doing it. And then it also, when you ride by the building, it allows you to look at the streets, look who your neighbors are, find out if they have nice properties or not, you know, because you don't want to be next to somebody who's a hoarder or something. But again, maybe that might be a building you might want to buy also. So,
Right. Okay.
So a lot of it is, so another thing that I do is contact as a real estate agent. Is that okay that I go from that angle?
Right.
Because
Yeah, absolutely.
I have relationships.
So let me ask. So let
Sure.
me ask, how many on the call are real estate agents? Can you raise your hand? We have one. Okay.
So,
Right. Oh, two.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So we've got a few that are real estate agents. I think about 3-4 people here are real estate agents. So
So
yeah,
obviously, yeah, through the years, I mean, you have relationships with people, you start to find out who are the good apples and who are the not so good apples. So I make sure I stay in touch with the good apples, and or someone that you've done a transaction with before, then you've created a relationship with them. You kind of know how they work, you know their follow-up, you know that they're going to provide you the income and expenses in a timely manner. You know that they're going to set up the showings for you in a timely manner. They're going to provide the attorney's information so the parties can communicate properly when it comes to title and any issues that come up. So that's another source that I use for off-market properties, because if I call up, hey, Jeff, we did this, you know, like 3 years ago. Nice to catch up with you again. How's your family? And then if you've got anything you're working on, I've got a buyer, Annabelle, out of California. Her and her husband are looking for a boutique property here in South Florida. Here's kind of their criteria. What do you have? And I'll go through that. Another thing is you can go back on MLS and see closed properties that happened in the last 3 years. Look up those real estate agents, contact them. Hey, congratulations. Oh my gosh, that was a year and a half ago. Wow, time flies, huh? So do you have anything else that you're working on that you could do it that way? You can also look up the buyers and the sellers that were doing those transactions. So that's another source. It's just being able to tap into all of that. So another thing that I use, because I am in commercial real estate, is CoStar. CoStar is a great source for being able to find contact information. Might not always be accurate, but at least you can be a source for that. I don't always, LoopNet is a good source as well, but I don't always know if what I'm seeing on LoopNet is really the truth. Is it really that Richard has the listing? I don't know. So.
Right. No, I think this is great information. I mean, I would apply it, I think, or anyone on this call that maybe even wants to buy 1 to 4 units, right?
Right.
That's easy to maybe do a little bit of research. And if you're a real estate agent, well, we have access to the MLS and we have access to finding out who the owners are. And, you know, maybe writing a couple little letters or little note cards and start connecting, because you're right. You never know where that person's at when you make that phone call or when they get that postcard. I mean, they could be thinking about it, right? And then it's like you're there at the right time and you know, they call you up and I've seen it done. I've lived it myself, and really, you can find some great opportunities that way.
Another thing is door knocking. I mean, here's a story, and it's just kind of one I've held on to for a little while. It was a 6-unit building, and they turned them into individual condos back in the craze when things were always turning a multifamily building into condo. There was a craze that was going on here in Miami, a few years ago. So there was a holdout. So I was able to get all the owners' information, speak to all of them, but there was one guy that was holding out, was not returning my phone call. I had to drive like an hour and a half just to go to this gentleman's place. It was a condo building. So, you have to either have a fob key or some kind of access.
Yeah.
The mailman happened to be inside. So he was able to unlock and open the door, let me in. I had to stand on the balcony in front of this gentleman's door and wait for him to come home.
I love it.
And that's the dedication that sometimes it takes to be able to do a deal.
I'm with you 100%. I
So
love the fact you're sharing that. You're
It doesn't
right.
matter how it happens, why it happens, just get it done.
Right. And you know, there aren't a lot of people like that, Kristine, that are willing to do those things, right? And
Yep.
and it's
Or they're nervous.
They're right. Well,
They don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to keep things moving through the process.
exactly. I agree. I mean, I've done my share of crazy stuff on residential stuff. It definitely William says property stalker. That's
For
right.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? Whatever it takes, because either you're working for your client or you're working for yourself and your partners are relying on you to do your job.
That's right. That's right. No, I think I think that's wonderful. I'd like to open it up to questions or anyone on this call that, you know, where are you at in this process? Are you looking to buy? What are you looking to buy? What have you done in the past that you could share that maybe we can all learn from? Please open it. I mean, it's open to anybody, anyone on this call.
Hi, Kristine. It's Paul Krause. How are you?
Oh, I'm so blessed. Thank you.
Hi, Paul.
Hey, Annabelle. Thanks for inviting me on. I was actually just in Florida. I was just in, where was I? I was in Sarasota. I was in Tampa, St. Pete's, and then I had to move on. But I haven't been in Florida so long, so it was great to go back.
What
anyway,
you go there for besides the beach?
To look at property.
There you go.
Well, yeah. Big family trip. Every year, my wife's family, they do a reunion, and when we were talking about where should we do the next one, I said let's go to Florida because I've been meaning to go there. Hint, hint, and it's true. I've been meaning to go there for real estate reasons, and they said, okay, great, let's do it. And we found a place in Siesta Key, and we stayed in Siesta Key for a week, and
beautiful
then I moved.
there. Beautiful.
Yeah, it sure was.
There's a gentleman that I met up with recently. He bought a 9-unit building there. So if you ever needed to go back, he does short-term rentals there.
I'm going to definitely go back because what's ironic is that I found it to be an outstanding market for a couple different uses. And but I also wanted to see Tampa. So I got to see Sarasota, got to see Tampa, St. Pete's, and it was just it was so great to be back that I absolutely am going to buy something there, and I got to get my system put together there. But what I did want to ask you a question about.
Let me know if you need help.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I did want to ask you a question. I started in multifamily last year, and I do have a system set up and a team set up in Chicago, and so I do have experience. But what I wanted to ask you more about was in the world of, you talked about it real briefly on this call today, which was taking the place of a equity partner. And I'm just curious, like, what has your experience been with that? Has it become the majority of your business? Is it something you're still like getting your feet wet with? I mean, because that sounds like an interesting way to get into much larger properties, like 1,000-unit, type communities and things like that. So whatever you could share about that would be really interesting.
Great. Happy to answer. This was my first equity opportunity acquisition that I was part of I have not thought about going down that road. I was recently at a multifamily event that was here in July that they usually hold in Texas, Houston. It's called MFIN. And I met another equity broker there. And then I started meeting more people that were in that same position. I was like, wow, there's a whole nother world out there besides real estate agents and people that actually operate and own a building.
Right.
So there is a whole other world out there, Paul, that is way open for this. There's people that's all they do.
So how does that work? How does it work?
They are, I don't want to be specific about it because I can't really answer all of it in a full capacity. Right. Obviously, if there's something that we can answer offline or online or however to further help each other, I'm happy to do so. There was one particular gentleman that he was looking for student housing. And I said, I'm going to call you because I had ran into some family offices that were selling their student housing, but they were interviewing me just as much as I was interviewing them. And I don't know if they necessarily took me serious or not, but I did manage to get things moving along. But they are, I don't know if I'm answering your question right, but there are specific groups that just look to raise capital for owner operators for specific multifamily or whatever asset type. You know, there's people that do mobile home parks, self-storage, warehouses. So it could be any kind of, there's people that buy hotels, there's people that buy entertainment structures that are focused around weddings, focused around bar mitzvahs, things that are entertainment wise. They also do, equity raises for things like that as well. So it's definitely an avenue that I want to add to my tool belt. I was on a Capital Forum last week for 3 days. These wonderful ladies on LinkedIn set up the event. And that is something definitely I want to add to my tool belt, is being able to capital raise. But again, I'm sorry if I'm not answering your question correctly. I just know that there is a whole other world out there, for people that just raise and do equity deals.
Yeah. Do you find that a lot of your larger, what I'd maybe call like institutional class investments, are you finding that the trade organizations and the conferences, like the annual conferences, and there's so many of them that we could list them forever, but Are you finding that to be part of your mix of how you're sourcing some of your deals today?
I would say, to answer your question, they are doors for me to walk through. They are networking opportunities, and I make an effort to follow up and or make some kind of touch with that. Example, 15 acres in Texas. My niece works as a real estate agent in New Braunfels. She is helping me source acquisitions for people that I have a lot of interest in Texas. And this, my niece found this property for me. The gentleman that was at this event back in July, I was so excited to meet him. And he actually gave me an autographed book of his that he wrote. He really enjoyed my energy. And I said, I'm going to share with you next week when you're back in your office, this 15-acre property, and we're going to connect. And I just remember I've got to touch base with this gentleman for sure, because I mean, obviously he gave me his books. That was pretty exceptional. So I did send it over to him. I'm now connected with his acquisitions gentleman inside his company. So now I'm staying in touch with him. Matter of fact, I sent him an email this week. I don't know if it's going to work out, pricing, different things like that, even though it's unrestricted land, which is great, so that you can build a multifamily, you can do self-storage. So when it's unrestricted, you have a little more free reign to build whatever you like. So I would say more of the open door is happening. Obviously, when you are in a face-to-face, you can create more of an intentional networking experience.
Right, right.
Like with Annabelle, we belong to a women's group on social media. We do monthly webinars. I've been bumping into her, and we've been now probably 6 months. And next thing you know, she was coming to Miami. I'm like, yes, for sure, we've got to meet up. And we wind up meeting up, and I met her husband and her daughter. And so now we have more of an experience that we're going to create for the future opportunities because we've been bumping into each other on the webinar. So again, I hope I'm answering your question. Just being able to go to these events and network with people face to face, you allow yourself to create that open door. Obviously, you're on Zooms with people a lot more because that's the wave of the future now, and that's what became because of COVID. So sure. I'm just intentional and I'm purposeful with my connections. And hopefully if something happens, it works. If I get a vibe and we just don't vibe, it happens too. But I would say majority of 95% of the people I do vibe with, because I am keeping them in the back of my mind and I'm keeping them in my, touches. Hey, I know it's been a month since we met up. Just wondering, did you find anything you were looking for yet? Are you still looking? Just exactly. Keeping those things happening. So
yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I can definitely connect you with the gentleman in Siesta Key. He, like I said, he bought this little 9-unit building. He's done some work for it, and now it's up in value for sure. And if you had like a large family, like you mentioned, you could take up the whole building. It has a little pool, it has parking, and he actually gives you a fob key to walk through the residential section of the beach. Obviously, yeah. it becomes open to the public, but it's an easy access versus going all the way. Anyway, so if you need help, let me know.
Yeah, no, the Siesta Key's full of those. We stayed in a
beautiful
duplex that was big enough for like 20 people and had 2 pools, wow. And it was modern, and it was just such a great. It was such a great application. The whole Airbnb thing is just such a great application for certain parts of the country, and that is absolutely one of them. So
absolutely,
I loved my time there.
Awesome. So
a lot of people are moving to Florida. California people are moving to Florida.
And New York.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. No, it's amazing. And even Tampa, I got to spend some time up in Tampa, and the neighborhoods are also different up there because you drive like through Ballast Point, and that's like one part of Tampa, and then you drive through another part, which could be the exact opposite demographics and income levels and medians and all that other sure. stuff. It's growing so fast that I just had to look at it like, wow, this reminds me of what California was like back in 2003 and 4, when all of a sudden people just decided, hey, we're gonna buy houses and we're gonna fix them all up, and it just reminded me so much of California from a long time ago.
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely. Did you tour any properties while you were there, like multifamily, or?
I actually got to visit. Yeah, I actually got to visit with a number of agents and who set me up with property tours of some singles, and I looked at some apartment buildings that were already rented up, and I asked them to take me to where some of the affordable housing places were, and kind of just made a really big work trip with family attached. And
that's the life of a real estate.
It's a write-off.
Yeah, no, and that way, because I really wanted to see the extremes of what is the Airbnb market versus the affordable housing market, so I could understand it, right?
So I've got a young lady that I've become kind of close with, just like with Annabelle on the women's multifamily webinars that happens, and her and I bumped into each other over a year ago. Then I think it was towards the end of last year, we really started talking more, and she's on the West Coast. Her and her husband are both in real estate. They have a small property management. So again, if there's any kinds of questions in the future, or if you have, hey, I went to this area and I saw this, you have a question, or hey, I went to this. So they're Clearwater, Sarasota, so they know Tampa, they know all those things. So if you needed a little extra, again, I'm sure you had agents there, but I'm just
Yeah.
letting you know.
Christine,
No,
you
it's great.
want to type in on the chat, like all your info, that way people can save that, and Paul
Oh,
save it as well. And
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that'd be great if you could share your info on the chat.
yeah,
Reconnect in the future.
excellent. Well, I hope that I have answered anything or at least created some kind of dialogue that is for the future. And I'm happy to network with any of you and do anything that I can to help you here in South Florida. So the prices here, they range from crazy to ridiculous. Oh my gosh, how does that happen? So if you're going to go take a listing with an owner and you sit with them and you say, hey, so all we have to figure out is where you're going to spend your time between your price and motivation. Well, I want $1 million for my house. The market's only 800. No problem, Mr. Seller. Let's list it for $1 million because we'll probably get it.
yeah. Well, that's California too.
Yeah, I think it's everywhere actually. So obviously with multifamily, things just have to make sense. So we are now, I'd say we're hovering between 4.5 cap and maybe you can touch a 5. Again, when you're working with off market, you can really pull back some things that are between 6.5 and 8 caps. Yeah, but you just got to dig and pull back the layers.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's too why I think regardless of what market you work, I think it's just a great idea to understand all the different product types and how those different product types, how they price. Like we've gone into Chicago, and Chicago is a very diverse, very multicultural city where you can't compare neighborhoods apples to apples because they're not. And that's one of the benefits of getting on a plane and going somewhere and shaking hands with people who, know the local market really, really well and understand it and can help you understand what a deal is versus something that's just, more like you're not going to make any appreciation on this for 10 years because it's already so overpriced, and like just understanding how all that works and putting it all together.
So true. So true. I was in Chicago in April for the first time.
Oh, were you? Oh, how cool. Where did you stay?
It's family members, and it was outside of Chicago, about an hour. So it was actually in suburbs and, actually like a community and house and all that stuff.
Sure.
But it was still cold then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh my goodness. But it was great. I really enjoyed Chicago. I look forward to going back soon.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, if I can be of help to anybody, answer any questions, there's my contact information. It's a pleasure. South Florida, we've got palm trees and just like you do in California, lots of sunshine.
You got the nice, warm weather.
Yeah, you do.
Sure. Any other questions? We've got a couple minutes. If anyone has any questions, we've got some great people on this call that can.
So I know that you have your multifamily in Texas there, Annabelle, and it's going well for you. And obviously it's doing well for you.
Yes.
I think a lot of opportunities to be able to talk to sellers about seller financing. It's a great way to obviously deflect going through the bank and going through all that rigor mortis and stuff and all those circus hoops that you've got to jump through with all the paperwork. But also it allows them, the tax benefits of being able to, receive an income, because sometimes you're talking to owners that are mom and pops for very long periods of time. And they're so used to that income that they're going to be like, dead stop. Of course, it goes back to the motivation. What do they need? Oh, I want to move out of here because I want to go move with my daughter and I don't want to deal with this anymore. Or, like I said, I think seller finance is great. So you mentioned that you were able to do that with that acquisition in Dallas. That's a great way of doing it.
I mean, it just it was the condition of the property. Young kid owned the property. I mean, I think it was like 23 or 24 years old, owned this property. Isn't that crazy?
Amazing. Yeah.
His parents, I guess he didn't want to go to school. He didn't want to do stuff. And his parents just said, all right, you know what? We're going to give you these properties. You run them and you live off of that. Like, you figure it out. And he didn't. He did not figure it out, because when we got there, it was a mess. It was a mess. So, but anyway, you know what? Thank you so much, Kristine. This has been
Oh,
great.
it's a privilege. It's a privilege.
Honestly, it's been great. I welcome you back anytime. Anytime. I think this is awesome. And, you know, it allows us to connect as well. And if you come across any great deals, let us know. I mean, there's people on this call. Just come. Yeah, that's right. That's
Knock,
right.
knock.
Knock,
I have a question. I
Yes,
have a question.
sure.
Is this a networking group or what is this? I mean, this is my first time with you guys.
This group, this particular call is, I talk about multifamily investing.
Right.
So I will have guest speakers join, and then every other week I also break down certain steps as to, like, maybe, you know, how do you pick a location, your due diligence, how to manage the property. And I go into details about, you know, how are you going to manage this property and what's needed. So it's just with different topics, but mainly multifamily investing.
Oh, good.
And then so Kristine, I met her through a social, like a networking group as well. It's a woman's social media multifamily group. And that's how we've met. And, you know, we're all over, everybody's all over the US. So the more people you meet and shake hands with, the better chance you have of something, you know, happening. So
Well, I think in general, I think sales, and to some degree, is a contact sport. So
exactly.
Right. Well, I'm in Tucson, Arizona, and I started investing in real estate in 1982 in California. And I just gave up my broker's license in California because I wasn't really using it. I'm a broker here in Arizona too.
Oh, nice.
But I retired about 5-6 years ago. I stopped
Exciting.
working with clients, and I consolidated my properties. I was doing basically what you were doing with residential, you know, buying distressed properties, fixing them up, keeping some, selling, flipping the other ones. So now I just have a few properties that are paid off, pretty clear, live off of that. And I kind of was thinking about retirement, but it's hard to retire. Everywhere I go, I look at real estate. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
residential
an
is getting
addict.
real crazy here, like in everywhere else. You know, it's getting real expensive. So I'm starting to look at commercial. I used to do basically 2, 3, 4 units in California, 4 plexes. I didn't go beyond that because it was a different tax, you know, deal.
Right, and then the money down you have is different as well.
Yeah, it's a different game. So, but I'm kind of I just started looking and said, well, residential is a little bit overpriced here. You know, there's a hype. Something I'm gonna look more into the commercial side. So that's how I ended up here today.
Well,
So.
feel free to join. It's every Wednesday. I'm here every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time.
Oh, good.
And you'll get a recording of this if you need to connect. And what I always say, if I don't have the answers, I definitely have the resources that I can get you the answers, or I can connect you to the right people. And really, this is just a platform for all of us to just come on, share your story, share what you're going. You never know. You really never know who you're going to meet on this call that you connect with, and you know, you probably can do business with. So that is my goal. I do this again every Tuesday. So please come back, join us. And Kristine, thank you again from the bottom of my heart. I am extremely grateful. You did amazing. And
You said Tuesday or Wednesday?
I'm sorry,
Wednesday.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, every Wednesday at 2
Okay.
p.m. Pacific time. Yeah.
Okay.
Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Paul, thank you. Lumel, everyone that's on this call. Thank you. And
Thank you, Annabelle. Yep. Thanks,
Yes.
Kristine.
Thank you.
Yes.
Blessings.
Thank you guys. And
Thank
have
you.
a wonderful day.
Have a good day. Talk
All
to you later.
righty. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.